Over the past month, there have been some crazy shakeups throughout the gaming industry. When the Nintendo Switch 2 was dropped and they announced the price of Mario Kart 8 going up to $80, it created quite a stir. Many people, myself included, felt like this was basically the limit of how far we were willing to be pushed. Not since 2013, when Microsoft announced that the Xbox would be a device meant for 2025, has there been such a negative backlash in the online gaming world. And the Switch announcement was just a catalyst. Ubisoft would come out and say that you do not own the right to your games. Xbox would just flat out raise the prices on their 5-year-old console. And then Grand Theft Auto 6, a game that has basically been holding the gaming industry hostage for the better part of 5 years, announced its extremely predictable and inevitable delay. And as I've become more and more negative towards the outlook of the gaming industry as a whole, there remained one consistent comment, one constant variable in the comment sections of every video that I've uploaded. You need not give up on the gaming industry. Just look at Clair Obscur, Expedition 33. Now, I'll be entirely honest with you guys. On paper, this game did not look like it would be my cup of tea. It's not the general genre that I flow towards. Not that I avoid it entirely, but usually a game needs some red mushrooms and question mark blocks to win me over. I started looking into this game for one reason and one reason only, because everybody described it as a giant toppler, as an industry shaker, as an anomaly. I knew it was time to take on this title. But to be clear, I did not play this game with the intention of reviewing it. I barely even recorded footage on this one. I didn't play it as a content creator. I played it as a gamer. And that's why today I'm going to give you my unfiltered, unedited, unstructured, pure, raw, and emotional feeling of Clair Obscur's Expedition 33. Simply put, this game is extremely refreshing. It starts you off slow, but beautiful and intriguing. A mystery box tale where you're slowly unveiling the mystery of this crazy, insane, haunting, and beautiful world. And as you move along, you're slowly opening that mystery box in ways that are fascinating. And the hope is that at the end of it, whatever is in that box will be worth the journey. While this game is on the surface level a turn-based RPG, elements often found in action games like parrying, dodging, make it a bit more unique. There aren't many things here that are necessarily the first of its kind, but I would not be surprised if it's amongst the best of its kind. Iteration, not imitation. It's larger than life in some ways. It doesn't make sense that a relatively small team put this together. My understanding is that the main team had about 30 people, and they outsourced where necessary. But if I had no idea about the development of this game and someone told me this was made by 150 to 200 people, I wouldn't be surprised. The fact that it's made by far less than that has really made me scratch my head. Like, how is that possible? Now, that being said, there are times when the cracks show. There are times where you could tell this is not a AAA title. It's closer to a AA or a AA and a half experience. But there are so many moments that are just absolutely, jaw-droppingly, the full-blown AAA feeling. Those brief slips, they come in the forms of minor jank, funny animations. Sometimes the lip syncing might be off. Sometimes you might find these minor details that they had to compromise on. And the way these minor blips hover in front of an exceptional canvas makes them just that little bit more noticeable. But don't take it away. It was a labor of love. I would not be surprised if the team that made this game worked themselves to their absolute limit, exhausting all of their personal resources to make it what it is. And this is all amplified by the fact that the story is fascinating. And as you creep closer and closer towards the end of the game, you're just really going to hope that it lands. There is a little bit of a narrative here that I think is worth addressing. And it's something that I say more as an observation rather than as a criticism. I think the game is slightly being overhyped or glazed. Perhaps because of the kind of political and social environment that we're in, where we have greedy corporations constantly firing people, cutting and canceling games, worrying an entire industry if your favorite franchise is not going to be utterly destroyed by the next CEO or shred apart in the next shareholder meeting. With all of this dark cloud glooming over the industry, it entirely makes sense to me why people are bowing at the feet of Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I get it. I genuinely do. But just as I alluded to a few minutes ago, objectively speaking, while this is a really good game, it's a beautiful game, it's an ambitious title, I don't know that it necessarily reached the heights of, some of the great modern AAA narrative-based RPGs. But it has the heart above all of those. And it gets close enough where you can forgive somebody for thinking that it does reach those heights. I wouldn't be upset or mad at anybody who thinks that this is probably going to be the game of the year. It has an immense amount of spirit, an immense amount of soul. It wears its emotions on its sleeves. There are elements here that show you that despite the jank, despite the overly melodramatic writing that plays less like a well-written Netflix series and more like a stage play, the kind that's full of corny and melodramatic writing, exaggerating the ways of interacting with one another, but all of that doesn't detract from it because it's just so heartfelt and so refreshing in a day and age where that feeling is hard to find. Think of something like Final Fantasy VII, where the characters are just so fun, so emotional. The camp is part of the experience. You grow to love these characters, these people that are trying to make the best of their situation. A situation that is utterly haunting, horrific, scary, frightening, amidst a very beautiful, intriguing, and mysterious world. Now, to delve a little bit deeper into the actual mechanics of the title, it is typically a turn-based RPG. Literally, you take turn after turn with all the characters, and your enemy takes turns along with you. But the elements and the action in there that make you need to kind of be on your toes to be twitching in your responses by parrying or dodging enemy attacks. As far as I can tell, every single attack in this game can be avoided or parried. Every single one. Since I am a Nintendo guy, it reminds me a lot of the turn-based RPGs of the Mario franchise, specifically in Mario & Luigi and Paper Mario. It effectively combines action-based combat with a strategic, thoughtful, typical RPG turn-based combat. It keeps you on your toes and it forces you to be ready to respond, to parry, to dodge. And that's really cool. I mean, that's really, really cool. It can be extremely overwhelming. I was surprised at how hard the game was. And I'm warning the viewer right now, you will lose a lot. I think even if you're a decent gamer with a lot of experience, you might easily die 1, 2, 3, 4, or even 5 times on some of the harder bosses and enemies. Many hours in this game will be spent dying over and over again because you dodged every single hit, performed every single attack perfectly, only to maybe mess up at the very end. This kind of thing is very common in Expedition 33. So much so that I think the parry window is almost unfair. Maybe unfair is not the right word, but you really have to figure it out. It's grueling, it's extreme, and it requires an extreme amount of preciseness, which I guess I was having a lot of difficulty with. I know many of you out there will just say get good, but I think because of that, it may be difficult for some people to appreciate the dodging. Now, the dodging is a little bit easier, right? But it's not easy by any means, it's just easier. There's a larger timing window available to those who want to dodge their way out of every attack. It's an outlet for people that are maybe not able to get the timing right for parrying, they can consider dodging. Outside of the combat, the characters in this game are very fun. They're very interesting. They live in a really horrific, terrible world full of misery, but despite that, they have a lot of love for one another. And they're very open and vulnerable and connected to each other. They're funny. There are moments in this game that made me laugh out loud a lot. It was hilarious. And I chalked that up to the good performance, because the performances were damn near perfect. The writing, I felt, suffered just a little bit in that it wasn't as good as the performances. But like I said earlier, if you look at it more as a stage play rather than a kind of high quality production that Hollywood would send out, it's easier to muster. Imagine these characters are on stage, spilling their guts out. And if you look at it that way, I think you can really appreciate it more, and it genuinely is good. It's not bad in any sense of the term. And I realize I'm comparing it to Goliath here, but if you were to put it side by side with something like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Remake, there's a little bit more polish in the writing, but they're both equally as heartfelt and as campy as each other. I do want to reiterate though, there's a lot of horror in this game. It's very haunting in a lot of ways. And I think it's worth warning people about that because this kind of stuff could get to people. I think that's something that needs to be a little bit more cognizant for the masses, especially if somebody can't try it before they buy it. But overall, I think the story is extremely intriguing, it's well presented, and the mystery box unfolds slowly in a way that leaves you kind of really wanting to just keep playing for that one more hour, and then that next hour, until you're completely hooked, and you realize that you've been hooked for hours on end. It's that kind of story, that kind of narrative. You just really want to push on. And it just frequently made me question, how the hell did such a small team do this? It's so unbelievably good looking, right? Like, not the best looking game ever, but it's one of the better looking games I've seen in a long time. The art direction, my God, it is phenomenal. Phenomenal. If you can separate the actual graphics, which are typically very good, not always great, with the art direction, which is always like a 10 out of 10, it is astoundingly beautiful. And it's done without a team of the 100 plus to 200 plus people that you normally have. And even in those blips that I previously mentioned, the cracks that seep through the walls, a lot of AAA games get attacked for these types of issues. But those are AAA games made with AAA teams. This game was made by the budget usually used to buy a shoestring and a paperclip. While I think it's clearly not a AAA game, it doesn't have to be. The only compromises I found in this game seem like they were budget related, time related. It's not God of War quality, but it gets close. Really close. And it's just a testament that mismanagement of some of the greater franchises are the detriment to the industry, because this game shows you that love conquers all, the labor of love, the passion, that alone does so much to paper over the cracks. This game is an inspiration to every small team that wants to go hard and go big. It can be done with enough heart and soul and passion and hard work. They did it, and it can be done. And they didn't need to sell their soul to a large corporation to pitch it to them, which I realize might be easier said than done, especially because these are guys that were in the industry. But as someone looking in from the outside, just talking without knowing all the intricate little details, and maybe this is just a once a year, once every 10 years or 15-year miracle that took place, and maybe it's not realistic. I could entirely be talking out of my butt here. But to see a title like this really put a mirror up to the industry and let it have a long and hard look on itself and allow it time to figure out why is it this game is hyped as much as it is. Why is it potentially overhyped? Why is it potentially being glazed? And why year after year we get strikeout after strikeout from some of the greatest names in the industry. But not Expedition 33. This is a success story, a Cinderella story. They were able to sell lots of copies, over 1 million pretty early on, for a primary team of 30 people. That's phenomenal. Explosive reviews and ratings by media outlets and Metacritic. It's because here you have a genuinely good product, a very good product, an aspirational product, created by a manageable budget and a small team. I have so much respect for what they've accomplished. I will be remembering this story for a while, and I'll be happy to enjoy it again. I will be happy to compare other games to it in the future, and I know I'm not the only one. For those who gave it a chance, will give it a chance. For those who kind of want a really good game, fun, exciting, a mystery box that unravels into so many intriguing plot developments, great characters and twitchy fun, strategic combat, and sometimes breathtaking presentation with a little bit of jank. Those people are probably going to have a really good time. I'll catch you guys on the next one.